Welcome to Ultimate Racing as we bring you all the highlights from all of the races of the final round here at the Ultimate Raceway. Ultimate Racing is proudly sponsored by LSP Group.
Welkom hier bij Ultimate Raceway hier in Vereeniging. Je weet, het is voor ons een voorrecht om die baan te kan besit. Ons het hom uitgekoop en ek dink die toekomsplanne wat ons het vir die plek is baie interessant. Ons is opwindend. Ons wil vreeslik graag baie aktiwiteite hier aanbied. Ons het die groot TV-skerms, ons het livestreaming wat ons doen hierso. En ek dink die toekomsplanne hou ook 'n Amerikaanse toer in Januarie wat hier kom ry in Suid-Afrika. So ek dink ons is almal opgewonde vir almal wat die publiek wat ons so goed ondersteun het op die vorige reis. Ja, ons kan net dankbaar wees. En ek dink ook die klasse groei. Ek dink die perseel is besig om mooi te lyk. Ons werk hard daaraan en ek dink van ons kant af wil ons vir almal sê, ondersteun ons, stap saam met ons. Ons gaan die plek mooi maak en ek dink daar's baie interessante dinge wat kom.
Cloudy and rainy weather is expected, but there's a nice field of entries for the day ahead. Revs are up and ready for a start here at the Ultimate Raceway for the start of the first heat of the Super Saloons. Leading the way down towards the first corner, it was Andrew Furry. It looks like Pintos Smith getting himself up into P2 as well off the opener. Everybody making a very clean start here at the circuit. Meanwhile, keep an eye on that man there who's in 5th place, Johan Duplessis. He can prove to be very, very interesting indeed. But the circuit, of course, bathed in the spotlight illuminating the track, and great to see such capacity crowds here as well. Martin Roux there also in and amongst the mix. He's had a really good race, of course, in his first grid, having been decided by a lottery system effectively, so it's a random grid order, and that proves to be a very interesting dynamic over the course of the racing. Meanwhile, there is your leader, Andrew Furry, making his way now through lap traffic. He's got some real problems in front of him in the form of the yellow machine of Jacobs Forster. That can prove to be very, very interesting indeed, but the car's all making it very cleanly through on the opening few laps here at the Ultimate Raceway. Under a bit of pressure now is Furry as well, but I'm sure he'll manage to succumb to it. We've had a red flag as well. The race has been curtailed for one reason or another, and that looks to be why. Looks like Jacobs Forster, indeed it is, has had to pull off to the infield of the circuit for one reason or another. Perhaps a technical problem or some damage to his car. The race gets restarted though. Who will get the drag down towards turn 1? Well, it looks to be Andrew Furry, but trying to change that is Pintos Smith. Smith had a great look up the inside, but Furry managed to shut the door right at the last moment. Meanwhile, it's all going on for 3rd place in and amongst the mix there as well. Keep an eye on that. Some great side-by-side action. Fantastic to see. But on to the final lap we go with Furry leading the way ever so slightly from Smith at the moment. Smith trying to find an opportunity, but he's only got one more corner left to try and make it happen. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Indeed, he is not. So Andrew Furry comes around the final corner to take the checkered flag in Heat 1. Well, what will it be for Heat 2? Keep an eye out for that man on the right-hand side, Jacobs Forster, but leading the way and around the outside into turn 1 is going to be Jan Klassen. Klassen making a great run on the opening couple of corners there, but sadly having to succumb to 2nd place as well in the meantime. Meanwhile, at the back of that little gaggle is the Heat 1 winner of Andrew Furry. Furry, of course, who will be looking to make some serious inroads through the field. Meanwhile, just in front of him, there's some great side-by-side action also going on between the number 75 of Pintos Smith as well, who's trying to make some ground. But that man there is still your leader, number 70, Jan Klassen, who's had a really good start to this second heat. Over the timing line he goes. He's now got Furry, that man there, the number 31, right for company behind, and in front of them they've got some lap traffic as well, which could prove to be a very interesting dynamic indeed as they go round the final corner, getting themselves ahead of the traffic, getting a bit sideways as well for the 2nd place man of Andrew Furry. He's trying to find an opportunity, or at least try and find an opportunity to make one happen as well. Into the final corner we go. He's going to muscle his way up the inside. There's a bit of contact between Furry and Klassen, but Klassen still manages to remain ahead as they come over the timing line to start their final lap of the second heat. Up the inside for Furry. He's done it. He's into the lead here. Fantastic and very sideways out of the first corner. Klassen will try and find his way back through, but he's not going to find the opportunity. And Andrew Furry on the last lap is going to take the victory in heat number 2. Fantastic. Will it be the same story for heat number 3? Well, no, it's not, because Verdi spins off to the infield of the circuit. I don't believe it. How on earth are they going to continue racing with that? They do indeed still continue to do so, I believe. And Tinner Smith leads the way, and a spin there for third place as well. Everybody being caught out by the very tricky conditions because there was some rain earlier on. The track is not very grippy. It's actually quite greasy, as a matter of fact, and that is causing some real problems, such as that one there. My goodness me, looks like there's a couple of cars caught up. Indeed there are. The red flag is out, the race is suspended, and that car there is looking very second-hand indeed. Also caught up in the mix there, unfortunately, is Johan Duplessis. He will go no further. So across the timing line we go to get the restart underway. Who's going to lead the way down towards the first corner? It is going to be Tinner Smith, once again the championship leader. He is now ahead of Jan Klassen. Klassen, who's actually sitting down in 9th position in the championship, but he's having a great final weekend's worth of racing here in the Ultimate Raceway. So much so that he's looking at the inside of Smith to try and take the lead. He gets a bit sideways though and loses all of that momentum and all of that ground. Meanwhile, third place is coming under threat now as well, because Gerhard Jacobs is going to lose out, I'm afraid, by the looks of things, to Andrew Furley. Furley looking up the inside, side by side between them as they come down the back straight and into the final corner. He's got the line and he's up into third position. Fantastic. So it is Smith who leads the way from Klassen, from Furley now, and then Jacobs holding on to fourth place, and then quite a significant gap back. Meanwhile, second place is now up for grabs as well, because Klassen goes wide at turn 1, and like candy from a baby, he goes up the inside as Andrew Furley and into second place, and now looking to try and challenge for the lead around the outside of Smith, who spins it off to the infield of the circuit for the second time in this heat. My goodness me, so Smith goes off and he has to recover. Unfortunately, that is a real shame to ending a positive day. Otherwise it has been for him, but that now means that your inherent leader, Andrew Furley, is looking very calm and very confident out there to try and take yet another victory as we go on to the final lap. He's just coming up to get himself ahead of Jackals Forster, who is of course a lap down now. A very, very interesting race. Just in front of him there, of course, is Tinner Smith as well, who spun off just one lap ago. But around the final corner we go for the Heat 3 victor. It is going to be a win for Andrew Furley. He ends up on top. But the top overall championship results see Tinner Smith on 411 points, Gerhard Jacobs on 366 points. Third place is Jack Smith on 360 points. Fourth is Andrew Furley on 328. And then rounding out the top 5 is Joe Smith. Heat 1 for the sprint cars is underway. Isaac Speeds leads across the line and into turn 1. Quentin Simon gets himself up into second place. A brilliant start by all involved. Everybody making it very cleanly through the first couple of corners. And Isaac Speeds, the black car with the purple numbers, having a great start to this race, already trying to pull a gap against Quentin Simon, but Simon already going with him. On board with the leader we go. A clear track in front of him for the LSP Group machine, and he's looking great guns out there so far in this race. The top 2 really pulling away from the rest of the field already, which is brilliant to see here at the Ultimate Raceway. Plenty of battles we're expecting to go on through the field, including further down the order. Keep an eye there on the pink machine of Lisa Fun Sail. She could be very interesting, and also the man in front of her as well, which is Tinus van Mollendorf. On board with Lisa we go. The LSP Group number 17 car, very distinctive livery. It's quite easy to spot if you were watching it here in the grandstands. These are absolute monsterful machines as well. They touch speeds of between 180 to 200 kilometers per hour from that short straight into the turn. Meanwhile, out in front in the lead of the race, contact between the two leaders as Spees and Simon come to blows. Simon gets himself ahead. Spees left to negotiate the outside of the track and have to defend for third position as well. Unbelievable drama here as Simon hits the front. Over the timing line we go. And Isaac Spees now trying to get himself back into contention. He's got his foot hard down on the loud pedal. Onto the final lap we go. They're negotiating lap traffic, just coming up against James Wurter. On the outside they go. And this is really going to hurt Isaac Spees' chances of getting himself up into the top step of the podium. Just one more corner left separates Quentin Simon from the checkered flag. Isaac Spees comes home in second. Will history repeat itself for race 2? Who's going to lead down towards the first corner? It's going to be Adrian Funsail ahead of Lisa Funsail. So the two Funsails leading the way in the opening stages of this race. Third place of Devol Coetzee having a great start so far. And keep an eye out for Quentin Simon and Isaac Spees' progress through the field, and drama already there because Pierre de Rieder goes off the circuit, spins it round, puts his foot hard down on the gas, and that suspends the race, unfortunately. So we have to wait for the restart to occur before we can get racing action underway. Who will get the lead down towards the first corner? Once again, it is going to be Adrian Funsail ahead of Lisa Funsail. Third place still being driven by DeWalt Coetzee, but he has got Quentin Simon very close for company, and just behind Quentin, of course, is the man who he overtook for a podium in the form of Isaac Spies, who's in P5 currently in this race. Very, very interesting indeed how things are going to go. These machines, of course, are all direct drive. They have no gearbox, no clutch, no starter button, nothing along the lines of that. It's just put your foot down and go. It sounds easy, but when they've got 700 to 900 horsepower, it's certainly not an easy feat at all, as Quentin Simon demonstrates that he makes it look very easy. He's up now into the podium position ahead of DeWalt Coetzee. DeWalt Coetzee now coming under pressure from Isaac Spies. Spies up the inside into turn one, side by side between them, and Isaac Spies kicks the tail out, puts his foot hard down on the gas, and gets himself up into the podium position once more. Fantastic to see, and Quentin Simon now on the attack against Lisa Funsail. Into turn one they go. This is brilliant racing, and it's been a commanding few laps from the leader, of course, in the form of Adrian Funsail. He's driven dominantly out there. He's got Quentin Simon very close behind. They're coming against lap traffic, but it is going to be the victory then for the number 27. Adrian Funsail comes across the line to take the checkered flag. He ends up on top in the championship on 374 points. Callie Newman on 374 points. Top three completed by Lisa Funsail in third on 350. Angelise Marks on 327 in fourth place. And then in P5, it is going to be James Buerter rounding out the order. The first heat of Stock Rods A is underway, and it's a good start initially for Thuni Alberts. He leads the way, but on the outside, keep an eye out for Henrik Furdy. Meanwhile, getting swallowed up there in the middle of the pack is Joshie McDonald in the number 100 Golf, going very slowly indeed and getting absolutely eaten by the rest of the pack. Keep an eye out for that man there in the number 46 as well. That is Marius Smit. Smit has proven to be very fast over recent rounds and could be a very interesting catalyst in this race, although he has got some company in the form of Juan Pienaar, but he's up the inside of Henrik Furdy into the right hand and gets the move done and dusted, and out into second place he goes. Just in front of him, of course, is the leader, but that could be a very interesting development so far in this race. Meanwhile, Pienaar now defending from Gideon Kruger. Kruger in the pink Golf GTI, trying around the outside into the right hander, but getting a bit sideways, a bit of opposite lock on. That's the dart towards the inside line, and just avoiding him is Rian Stain. Stain managing to take evasive action, but later on in the race, Kruger still now defending from Juan Pienaar, so he made his way through against Pienaar, and Pienaar now trying to find his way back into the position that he took. But it's going to be a very interesting race in towards that right-hander. Kruger here at the Raceway looking very, very good out on track at the moment. Into the right-hander we go, but no way through there for Pienaar at the moment. He's looking to try and find an opportunity, but it's not presenting itself such far. Onto the final lap of racing we go. Just in front of them, of course, looks to be a Furdy on the at the moment, but it could be a very interesting end to this race. If so, will Pienaar be able to take advantage? Kruger goes up the inside. Indeed, they are up the inside of Henrik Furdy on the final lap. Furdy gets absolutely mugged, loses two positions. Kruger, though, does indeed manage to hold on to P2. Under the floodlights now for the second heat, and leading the way, because of course this race is decided by a pole inverted grid. In towards turn one, Andre Fessner has the advantage in his Mark 1 Ford Escort, but not for very long, because that man there on the outside of him, Marius Smit, is trying to find a way through, but no opportunity was presented at that corner. He's going to have to bide his time. Meanwhile, a bit of contact further back. There is Pienaar, of course, who had a great race in the first heat and ended up on the podium. Will it be the same for him here in the second one? Well, not if the top trio of drivers at the moment have anything to do with it. Currently leading the way, it is still Fessner with the Ford Escort at the moment, but very close behind still is Marius Smit. Smit looking up the inside into the right-hander. He brakes later, he goes deeper, he's got the line and he's got the place. He's up into the lead is Fessner. So a brilliant bit of racing there. Fessner now down to P2, but later on he's now coming under serious pressure from Joshie McDonald and the Golf GTI there of Rian Stain. Stain looking to try and find a way up the inside of McDonald. McDonald trying to find a way past Fessner as well. Fessner really on the defensive. He goes to the inside line, but going all the way around the the outside there. Brilliant bit of driving from Jossie McDonald. He's got the line done and he's got the place, and here comes Stain as well. Stain trying to find his way through. He's around the outside. They're going to be side by side. They're going to almost be taking contact. They're going to be into the right-hander. Down the straight we go on the brakes. Stain gets the position done. Brilliant piece of driving there from Rian Stain, and now his next target will be Jossie McDonald. He looks up the inside to Stain into the right-hander, and if he doesn't leave the door too far open, he'll have to be very careful, because Thesna in the Mark 1 Ford Escort GTI could prove to be very interesting. Into the right-hander we go. Stain in this little battle leads the way from McDonald, leads the way from Thesna at the moment, and all the while these trio of cars is battling. They've got to keep an eye on behind them of Gideon Kruger, because Kruger could prove to be very interesting. There he is in the pink Mark 1 Golf GTI. Into the right-hander we go. Thesna now on the attack against McDonald. No way through for Thesna at the moment. He's just biding his time, holding the opportunity onto the last lap of racing. He's going to look around the outside. He's going to try and repeat the move that Jossie McDonald did to him just a couple of laps ago. And here comes Gideon Kruger as well. Kruger looking up the inside. It's going to be side by side, nearly 3 wide into the final race. How do we go? McDonald goes wide. Thesna up the inside. Here comes Kruger as well. A bit of contact between them, but it is going to be Jossie McDonald who reigns supreme. Well, what will happen for the A and B Heat 3? Well, leading the way, it is still going to be the Heat 1 and 2 winner of Marius Smit. He holds on very nicely, but he's got some close company behind him as well in the form of Juan Marias as well. And Marias looking pretty good and comfortable out there so far in P2 in the white and red machine. Keep an eye out for him, because he could prove to be very interesting. But Marius Smit holding on very, very nicely indeed. Into the right-hander they go. Putting out quite a significant lead already is Marias as well. Good guns out there so far on track, and the circuit far from ideal racing conditions. Oh, and coming to contact there, I'm afraid to say, is Jackie Desation. Desation coming to blows with what looks to be JP Forster on the inside. Forster goes to the inside line. Restart now underway as the race was curtailed due to that incident. Lights out then, and away we go for the second time of asking, and still leading the way is Marius Smith, of course, with the advantage on points. That's where he started in pole position. Jossie McDonald holding on to second place though, but coming under ever increasing pressure from Dazel as well. MJ Dazel looking up the inside, also in the Mark 1 Golf GTI, with a duo of cars battling behind them as well. Keep an eye out on that, could prove to be very interesting. But leading the way at the moment, Marius Smith with the door open as well through the right-hander. I'm fairly sure that's not something he was hoping to have, but gets it shut, gets himself composed and back out into contention in this race. He's looking comfortable and calm and collected out there on the final lap of racing, coming up against Desation as well, who was of course involved in that incident with JP Forster that caused the red flag and caused the restart of this race. Desation moves himself out of the way very sensibly, allows Smit to go through, and Smit cruises his way to an easy victory. What a fantastic race we've had here for Heat 3. Brilliant to see Smit on top. Ready then and good to go for Stock Rods Heat B. Leading the way down towards the first corner is Juan Marias. Very close for company behind him though in the form of Eric Fletcher. Keep an eye out for him in the Ford Escort. He can prove to be very interesting as the pickup of Jackie Desation went around the outside. Meanwhile, keep an eye on third place as well. That could be very interesting of Cassie Kutsia. Kutsia looking pretty good out there, but coming under some pressure now from NJ Dazel. Dazel looking up the inside into the right-hander, causes Kutsia to go to the outside line. Side-by-side action between the two, and Kutsia has to relinquish that position once again. And now Dazel on the attack against the number 160 of Eric Fletcher. Fletcher holding the inside line, holding that defensive position with his Ford Escort. Will he be able to hold on to it though? Around the outside goes Dazel. He gets a position done and dusted very, very easily indeed. And now his next target will be Juan Marias, and off the inside of the circuit does go Eric Fletcher. So Fletcher out of this race. Kutsia though coming under ever increasing pressure from behind as well. That's Morn Kutsia as well. Morny Kutsia could prove to be very interesting in this race. Looking around the outside is Morna. Into the right-hander we go. No way through. Indeed, he's got the way through, so he's got the position done and dusted. And now coming under pressure now is Kutsia, under pressure from Eddie Thunderheaver as well. Thunderheaver could prove to be a very interesting competitor. Oh, and spinning on the inside there, I'm afraid to say, is Kutsia. Final lap of racing though we go for the Stock Rods B. A brilliant race it has been so far, and lapping the traffic for Juan Marias. He's driven dominantly out in front. No one's really been able to touch him at all, and that has proven to be the case here today at the Raceway. Fantastic. He comes around the final corner, and it's an easy victory then for Juan Marias. Stock Rods B Heat 2, of course, this race decided by a pole inverted grid. Into the first corner leads LZ Swanepoel. Looking around the outside, though, is the Heat 1 victor of number 59. That is Juan Mariah. Side-by-side action between himself, DeStation. Oh, and contact between DeStation and again JP Forster. So Forster to the inside of the circuit. That brings out the red flag. So the race curtailed as Forster and the number 449 of Jackie DeStation comes together. The race restarted once more, and LZ Swanepoel leads the way. A cleaner start this time once more for Juan Mariah. He manages to get himself ahead of Dazel. Dazel now relegated down into the lower points-paying position. Second place being held onto by Thunder Heather as well. And side-by-side action, nearly 3 wide into the right-hander. Fantastic as Dazel manages to reign on top of this little battle against the number 217 of Mornay Kutsia holding on to that position, and just behind him as well, of course, is Marias. Marias looking very racy though, and looking around the outside as Dazel goes up the inside of Thunder Heather. Heather manages to relinquish that position, and Dazel gets himself up into P2. Fantastic work there for Dazel, but leading the way is still LZ Swanepoel in the 101. And right at the back of this little gaggle still is Juan Marias. Marias looking very racy as up the inside, and contact between LZ Swanepoel and Dazel. Dazel takes the lead of the race. The yellow flag is brought out. Will that bring a curtail to the racing? I'll be very surprised if it doesn't, because that car looks stranded in the middle of the circuit. Oh no! And that's going to mean some suspension damage, and the suspension, unfortunately, of this race with contact there. LZ Swanepoel is going to be out. He will not take to the checkered flag. That's a real shame for the 101, leading comfortably, minding his own business out in front, and unfortunately run into by Dazel. But that, of course, is motor racing, and unfortunately how it goes. On to the final lap of racing we go then for the Stock Rods B Heat 2. Leading the way is going to be Dazel versus the number 59 of Juan Marias. They're side by side for action. This is the final lap of the race. Into the right hander we go. Dazel breaks later. He's up the inside. He's into the lead, into the final corner. He's got the line, he's got the place, and now he's got the checkered flag as well. Brilliant to see there for Dazel. He takes the flag. Here's the overall championship results. Juan Pinar on top on 447. Rian Stain in second place. Mariah Smith in third place. LZ Swanepoel in fourth. And then Eddie Thunder Heather is in fifth. Ready to go then for the first heat in the Form 2 Standard Midgets race. It's going to be Tian Flynn with the inside line down towards the first corner. He gets himself ahead of Jan de Bruin, and then Juan de Nelson holds on to third place. An invitational only race this one, so it doesn't count towards any championship points. But nonetheless, proving to be very interesting. Of course, a smaller grid than we're used to within the Form 2 Standard Midgets race. But looking at the inside in towards turn 1 for second place is Juan de Nelson. He's all over the back of Jan de Bruin at the moment like a rash, but he's got no opportunity to be able to utilise it. Tian Flynn, though, with the advantage, looking very comfortable and very calm out there on circuit, as Jan de Bruin really having to defend now from Juan de Nelson. De Nelson really trying to find a way through, taking a tighter line through the corners in order to try and optimise his corner exit speed. Into the final corner we go, but again, no opportunity presented to Juan de Nelson, and he spins off to the infield of the circuit as well. Juan de Nelson goes for a spin on the infield of the circuit on the wet part, on the wet patches, and he will go no further in this race. But nonetheless, what a race it has turned out to be for Tian Flynn. There he is, the number 101. He's led comfortably from the start. He comes around the final corner now, and the number 101, Tian Flynn, takes the first heat victory of the day. Will he be able to repeat the same feat in race 2? Well, I don't think so, because he's not starting from the front of the grid. That honour will go to the retiree from race 1 of Juan de Nelson. Second place will slot Tian Flynn, and then third place is Jan de Bruin at the moment. Into the first corner we go once more, sorry, into the final corner I should say. We go for the first time of asking, and Jan de Bruin looking pretty good out there in third place, but not able to match the pace of Tian Flynn and Juan de Nelson, who are out in front so far. And Juan de Nelson is trying to, of course, take the advantage given his dramas he had in race 1, where he spun off right at this point on the infield of the circuit. On to the final lap we go once more. And Juan de Nelson looking in a good position to try and take his first victory of the weekend. Although Tian Flynn, I'm sure, will look to try and change that. Into the final corner we go now. Just one more turn and separating Juan de Nelson from his first victory of the weekend. He comes across the timing line and takes the checkered flag. Well, it's one apiece now. Very interesting start. Very, very exciting as well. They're side by side between Tian Flynn and Juan de Nelson through the first corner, and Tian manages to take the advantage and the whole shot through the first corner, and already having completed their first lap. It is Tion Flynn and Juan de Nelson who lead the way quite comfortably ahead of Jan de Bruin. De Bruin's looked pretty quick this weekend, but he's not had the pace to be able to utilise it. Likewise, Juan de Nelson, he's looked pretty quick, but simple uncharacteristic mistakes like the spin in race 1 and like that wide moment we saw just a couple of moments ago from him into turn 1 have not meant he's been able to battle with Tion Flynn as much as I'm sure he would have liked. But the circuit looking absolutely gorgeous here with the capacity crowds and the floodlights illuminating the circuit. Meanwhile, fantastic out there, but Tion Flynn with the advantage into turn 1 he goes. Sideways he is, making a bit of an error there really more than anything, because that is going to allow Juan de Nelson to close right up given the corner speed exit difference that they will have had into the final corner. They're going out of it now, and a bit of a slip and a slide once again on the greasy part of the track for Tion Flynn. This race is not over yet. Onto the final lap we are now, and Tion Flynn coming under ever-increasing pressure from Juan de Nelson. But Juan, I don't think, is going to have the time or the pace advantage to be able to utilise it. Just one more corner to go now for Tion Flynn, and the 101 takes 2 victories out of 3 heats here for the Form 2 Standard Midgets race. Lights out then, and away we go here for the first heat of the Ninjas. It's going to be Marley Simon that leads the way down towards the first corner here at the Ultimate Raceway. Keep an eye out for the man we're on board with now, Dylan van der Westhuizen. He's the reigning champion of 2015 and has already done the double and won it in 2016 as well. And he's looking to try and challenge Simon for the lead of this race. Hitting the front meanwhile is the number 46 of Jonathan Thomas. Jonathan Thomas, who is looking very comfortable and very calm out there as van der Westhuizen goes up the inside and into second place. These drivers are all juniors. They're all around the ages of 8, 9, 10 years old, something along the lines of that. And that man there in second place of Dylan van der Westhuizen is just 8 years old and already a 2-time champion and already challenging for the lead of the race against Jonathan Thomas. He's trying to find the purchase up the inside. He forces Thomas wide. Will he be able to utilise the track position? Thomas tries to hold it around the outside, side by side, wheel to wheel racing, and van der Westhuizen gets the position done and dusted into the lead in the first heat here. They go around the outside. The checkered flag is now out to the line. It goes, and it's van der Westhuizen on top. Will van der Westhuizen be able to repeat the same feat in heat number 2, or will we see a different victor on top? It's going to be very interesting, but the leader down towards the first corner was Delane Kotze. Kotze, who is one of the only female racers in this particular field, is looking great guns out there so far, leading the way, but van der Westhuizen already bearing down on her with Jonathan Thomas not too far behind either. Here comes van der Westhuizen up the inside for the lead of the race. He's got the line done. He's using that overtaking spot and the momentum that he's got, and he's got the position, and he's into the lead of this race. And second place could be under threat for Kotze as well, because here comes Jonathan Thomas. Thomas looking to try and find his way around the outside. Kotze forces Thomas to go a bit wide and utilise a line that he doesn't want to. Meanwhile, they're all bearing down on van der Westhuizen, but up the inside comes Thomas, side by side racing for second place between Kotze and Thomas and the number 46 manages to reign on top. Into second place they go, and will the top 2 now break away from Kotze in third position? Indeed they will. So van der Westhuizen and Thomas enduring their own little battle once again, and here comes Thomas looking around the outside of van der Westhuizen into the final turn, and he hits the front with the number 46. This is brilliant racing. Van der Westhuizen, the champion of course of 2015 and 2016, as we come onto the last lap. It's brilliant to see Jonathan Thomas sitting only third in the championship and having a great late end of season resurgence here at the Ultimate Raceway in South Africa. He's got the line done, has Jonathan Thomas. Will he be able to take the victory? Is he going to be able to hold off the charge of van der Westhuizen? Yes, he is. So Jonathan Thomas on top in heat 2. What will happen in heat 3? It's anybody's guess. Van der Westhuizen on the right-hand side of your picture, Jonathan Thomas on the left. They've been battling hammer and tong all weekend long. Will it be the same story in heat number 3? Kotze in third position. She finished on the podium in heat number 2 as well, and looks like she's going to be in a good place to be able to finish on the podium in heat 3 as well. Keep an eye out though for the company further behind her. That could prove to be very interesting, but out in front in the lead of this race is Dylan van der Westhuizen, the South African driver, looking great out there. Nearly 500 points if he wins this particular heat. He'll end up on 500 points following this weekend, which will be a massive feat in itself. But I'm sure Jonathan Thomas, the victor of heat number 2, will be looking to try and change that as they go through turn 1. Brilliant to see such close racing. Meanwhile, third place now also under threat for Kotze as well. Keep an eye out for that, because Simon is trying to get away through once again. Marley Simon trying to find an opportunity to get herself ahead. Meanwhile, here we go then with Thunder Westhuizen and Jonathan Thomas once again. Thomas looks towards the outside line. He runs a bit wide as he hits a bump on the inside of the circuit. They come across the timing line once again to start their final lap, and Thomas gets caught up in a bit of lap traffic as well, which just causes him to lose a car length or two on Thunder Westhuizen, who is leading the way. Final corner now for the double champion, and it looks like it's going to be the perfect end to his 2016 season. Indeed it is. Thunder Westhuizen leads across the line as they start their final lap of racing. He's got the advantage over Jonathan Thomas at the moment. Will Thomas be able to find his way through? Just one more corner left for these drivers to negotiate. Bear in mind, they're just 8, 9, 10 years old, the junior drivers, but they're battling like they're veterans. Across the line we go, and it's Dylan Thunder Westhuizen who comes across the line in the lead. Well, the overall championship results then see Dylan Thunder Westhuizen breaking that 500-point duct. Kyan Lawrenson finishes the championship in second place. Jonathan Thomas is in third position on 424 points. Marley Simon is in fourth place on 378 points. And then Megan Coetzee in fifth place on 237. The 125cc first heat kart race is underway. It's going to be Michael Hatting who leads the way down towards the first corner. On the outside of turn one there was Rassi Bezadenhout. He lost out 2 positions because now up into second place has gone Karika de Bruin. De Bruin up into second place, and then third place looks to be being held on to by Rob Fulton at the moment as they go in towards turn one. The top 2 have really sort of broken away really already from the rest of the field. So Hatting, who leads the way and has a distinct advantage, as does Karika de Bruin in second place at the moment. Over the timing line we go and into the left-hander here at the Ultimate Raceway. It's a beautiful circuit, the circuit having dried out due to earlier rain. It's looking great to see here in these 125cc karts. Of course, this being an invitational race as well. Fulton now with some pressure behind him as well. That is in the form of Rassi Bezadenhout Jr. Bezadenhout Jr., of course, who we saw going wide at that first turn. He was in second place and then was relegated down to fourth. That could soon be fifth place because Jacko Pretorius is really coming into play now as well as we go into the left-hander to start the final lap of racing here for these drivers. Fantastic to see Fulton soaking up the pressure, but off to the infield of the circuit goes Bezadenhout Jr. A real shame, a spin round onto the greasy part of the track and going no further for Bezadenhout Jr. A real shame to end his day there, but across the timing line we go and a fantastic first heat. What will happen for Heat 2? The floodlights now bathe the circuit. Who will get the drag down towards the first corner? On the inside it is going to be Jacko Pretorius, but it looks like it was Rob Fulton who managed to get the advantage. Indeed it was with the number 7, so Fulton leads the way, and now there's a side-by-side battle between Pretorius and De Bruin for second place as well. Who's going to reign on top between that little duo? Currently De Bruin has the advantage over Pretorius, but as they come over the timing line once again, it does indeed allow De Bruin to get himself into that slipstream once again. Sorry, Pretorius to get himself into Bruin's slipstream once again and try and take that advantage back. Into turn one we go. And coming up against Fulton they are now, looking towards the outside is Pretorius, but no opportunities being presented so far. He's looking left, he's looking right, he's trying to force De Bruin into making a mistake. He looks towards the outside line and towards turn one, and that'll be very brave if he can pull it off, but he can't. He has to pull himself back into the slipstream and try another day. Into the corner we go once more. He's all over the rear end of him like a rash, and of course whilst these two are dueling, they're going to have to be very careful of the impending machines behind, because that could prove to be very interesting. Around the outside we go though. He's done the move. Brilliant! What an overtake there from Jacko Pretorius on Karika de Bruin, but De Bruin tries to fight it back immediately into the next corner but can't quite manage to make it stick, so it's now going to be second place for Pretorius at the moment, and keep an eye out for that man there, Rassi Bezadenhout Jr., because he of course spun off on the last lap of the first heat and he'll be looking to get revenge, currently sitting down there in fifth place. But Rob Fulton, what a race the number 7 has had. He's led from the start, he's been out in front, he's looked very comfortable indeed, and he takes the checkered flag for the second heat. What a race! What's going to happen though in Heat 3? This is going to be a very interesting drag down towards the first corner. It is going to be Karika de Bruin who has the early advantage so far, with the floodlights still bathing the circuit in the imperative darkness. Second place being held on to by Michael Hatting. Hatting, of course, who featured so prominently in the first heat and then sort of dropped off the boil really in towards Heat 2. But now right at the sharp end is Hatting once again, looking at the inside for the lead of this race against De Bruin. He's got the line. Will he have track position? Will De Bruin be able to hold it around the outside? There's side-by-side, wheel-to-wheel stuff in these 125cc karts here at the Ultimate Raceway. But holding on to the advantage for the time being is Carica de Bruin. Second place still being held on to by Michael Hatting. Further back, they managed to drop the rest of the field, second, third, fourth and fifth place respectively, with quite a good amount of ease. Over the timing line we go, nose to tail between the two, looking for an opportunity to find his way past is Hatting at the moment. He takes a tighter inside line. They come onto the final lap now, so he's going to run out of opportunities. He's got just 2 more corners to try and make it stick as Hatting against Carica de Bruin. He looks around the outside in towards the final corner. He's going to try the inside to get the switchback. Will he get the drive? Will de Bruin take it? Indeed he does. Or will it be to the line? It's going to be de Bruin who ends up on top. What a race! Heat 1 for the Pintos and 2.1 Mod Saloons race is underway, and it's a good getaway initially from Gideon Pretorius, who leads the way down towards the first corner. Second place though at the moment is anybody's guess, as it's Jacques Durant who's got the inside line. He is battling alongside Johan Harms. Harms with the outside line trying to hold the position with his Peugeot 206 silhouette machine, but no opportunity for him to present there, and very sideways also for Peter Gray in fourth position, who's looking to try and challenge himself and get himself up into P3 as well. But initially with the whole shot of the opening lap, Gideon Pretorius with a distinct advantage over the rest of the field. Meanwhile, later on, it's very, very interesting, because now coming into the foray as well is the 2.1 machine of Hans Brits. Brits is looking very racy, but somebody else looking racy, oh dear, was Johan Forster. Forster taps into the side of Peter Gray. Peter Gray goes down and around. The race is restarted, and once again it is going to be Gideon Pretorius who leads the way with the charge. He's got the advantage already. Hans Brits in second place. Third place still being held onto by Conrad Durand at the moment. Very sideways through the right end of the track, still very greasy, and that allows an opportunity for Hans Brits to get himself up the inside and into the lead of this heat. Fantastic to see. So Brits leads the way then from Pretorius, from Durand at the moment. Very interesting start to this first heat. Very interesting race it has been. Very, very exciting as well. Through the right-hander we go. But the circuit looking absolutely gorgeous here with the capacity crowds. Meanwhile, oh, and a spin on the last lap as well, I'm afraid to say, for Johan Harms. He gets tapped around by Peter Gray. Gray goes into the side of him, and Harms comes across the line at a dejected position. Ready then for the second heat underway. Let's see who will lead down towards the first corner. It's Johan Forster who is on pole position. He will lead the way, of course, pole being inverted for the second heat, and he's got the advantage already. Peter Gray holding on to P2. Gideon Pretorius there in the yellow machine, making his way back through the field after having started lower down the order, of course. They're here at the Ultimate Raceway. Just in front of him at the moment is Johan Harms. Harms looking very racy. He'll be looking to try and make some amendments following his race, or his Heat 1 dramas. But someone tried to get himself ahead of Gideon as well. Oh, and into the back of Harms goes Gideon Pretorius. That's a real shame. That's going to bring out the red flag. Indeed it has. The race is suspended then. That's a real shame. Restart then underway, and Johan Forster leads the way then from Peter Gray in second place. Who will get the drag down towards the first corner? It is indeed Forster from Gray. Then third place being held onto by Hans Brits in the 2.1 machine. Bit of a gap then back to the 206 silhouette car of Johan Harms at the moment. The top three having broken away just ever so slightly. A couple more car lengths between them than there is between third, fourth and fifth position at the moment, I should say. Into the right-hander, still going to be Forster who leads the way at the moment from Peter Gray, but Brits in the 2.1 machine really piling on the pressure. Now into the right-hander, and a spin there for Forster. The track looks very greasy out there, and he's been caught out due to the conditions, and just avoiding him is Jacques Durant as well. So Durant manages to avoid contact there, but that's a real shame, unfortunately, and the race will indeed come to a conclusion, and it does indeed look like it will be Gray who was on top. Ready then for the third heat of the Pintos and 2.1 Mod Saloons. It's going to be the Heat 1 victor of Gideon Pretorius with the inside line. The track is very greasy, it's very wet and very slippery out there. These drivers are taking it quite gingerly, as you would begin to imagine, sliding around all over the place with the whole shot on the opening lap. It's still Conrad Durand. He's got the advantage over Gideon Pretorius. They're not able to put the power down. Third place being held on to by Peter Gray at the moment as they come into the right-hander, but you can see how much understeer and how much they're trying to get on the power. The car's squirming around, and a spin there for third place man of Peter Gray. He goes stumbling down the order. The yellow flag is brought out Hopefully he can get himself back in this race. No, the race has to be restarted. So it will be Conrad Durand who leads the way from Gideon Pretorius in second place. Pretorius trying to get that inside line into turn one. It's really going to be a case of track position. He's leading all over Conrad Durand as well. And third place is up for grabs as well. A great little dice going on between Hans Brits and Peter Gray as well. Into the right-hander, Pretorius leads the way then from Durand at the moment. Brits trying to find his way through as well. Into the right-hander, side by side between the two leaders. They're being so ginger on this wet, slippery, greasy surface. It's not ideal conditions at all for these cars, given the amount of horsepower that they're chucking through the back wheel. But as we see a spin for Shane Bromelo, that's a real shame for him. He goes tumbling down the order, unfortunately. Gets himself back, more importantly, into this race. But being caught out by the tricky conditions are a lot of drivers. Leading the way is Pretorius, who's now getting himself ahead of Bromelo, of course putting a lap on the number 5 because he span out just a few corners ago. But across the line comes Gideon Pretorius to take the checkered flag once again. And here are the overall results then. In the Pintos, it's Johan Harbs ahead of Spanner Pretorius and then Peter Gray. Top 3 in the 2.1s, Hans Brits, Vernon Kutzer and Kenny Ebershod. Ready to go for the first heat. Albert Bridges will lead the way across the line. James Buerter on the outside line, and keep an eye out further behind as well, because Philip Jacobs in the Mercedes could be a very interesting catalyst in this race as Tolly Goosen, the championship leader, spins round at the back end of the field, and contact there as well between James Buerter. Unbelievable. Spinning off to the infield of the circuit goes Philip Jacobs. He manages to get it back going again by some miracle, because that grass was very wet indeed, as that looks like Devold Roos who is out of this race, and Roos will go no further. That's a real shame for him. Meanwhile, let's get this race restarted, shall we? Albert Bridges leads the way then. James Buerter in second place. Third place then looks like Tolly Goosen has managed to get himself back out and into contention in this race. Indeed he has, but he has got a bit of company in the form of the silver and blue machine who's up the inside of him. That is Rian Beats. Beats looking very racy so far, trying up the inside to get himself onto the podium. Will he manage to hold that line? Will he manage to maintain track position? Well, Goosen is doing a great job of holding on so far and manages to keep third position for the time being. Bit of contact between them as they go into the right-hander, and all the while that duo are battling, it allows Pieter Brand, who is of course in 5th place, to manage to prove to be very, very interesting indeed, as we've got to change of position as well, and somebody spun off at the far end of the circuit. Unbelievable. That is going to bring out the red flag. Everybody taking evasive action, so it's going to be another restart, I believe, or an aborted race perhaps as well. Let's get it underway once again. Another restart we go. Albert Bridges then leads the way from Tolly Goosen. Goosen looking very good out there, and Bridges and Goosen have actually managed to gap Buerter quite significantly onto the last lap of racing. Here we go. Buerter's dropped off the back of the top 2, and now coming right up to the back of them is Pieter Brand. Brand, of course, who was sitting very good in the race. Oh, and a spin there because he's been tagged by Tolly Goosen. So Bridges goes around, and that's going to cause all of the field to take evasive action. The yellow flag is out. An unbelievable end to the race there. What will happen in Heat 2, though, it's going to be very interesting. Keep an eye out for Andres Duplessis. He's in the Ford Fiesta Silhouette machine. He's on the inside and the lead in turn 1. He could be a very interesting catalyst in this race. The championship leader, Tolly Goosen, on the outside, and then Pieter Brand, of course, who had that fantastic first heat, is in 3rd place. No, make that 2nd place because he's up the inside of Goosen, and Goosen now down into the final podium position here at the Ultimate Raceway in South Africa. Into the right-hander we go. Brand all over the rear end of Duplessis at the moment, trying to find an opportunity to get themselves through. Coming up against lap traffic as well in the form of Juan De Nelson. That could be very interesting because De Nelson actually managed to get in the way quite significantly in that last race, and he's proving to do exactly the same here. Is this going to hinder Brand's progress? They come across the timing line once again. Manages to get ahead, does the leader, Andres Duplessis, but Brand loses out quite significantly because sat right on the racing line was Juan De Nelson. A real dramatic turn of events here. That means the top 2 podium positions are now quite significantly separated out, and still the number 880 of Juan De Nelson getting right in the way. So Brand had it all to do. He's managed to catch up once again with the leader of Duplessis for the time being, but once again they're coming up against lap traffic. Around the outside we go for Duplessis. He's leading the way. He's looking comfortable and calm and confident out there. Last lap board now displayed, the white flag hanging over the circuit. And just a couple more corners to go, separating Duplessis from his first victory of the weekend here at The ultimate raceway. Across the line we go, a flourish to the finish for the number 17, Andres de Vries on top. Well, the rain came down just before the third and final heat, and the drivers, as you can see, struggling with the conditions quite significantly. Tolly Gursen managed to get the initial advantage, and as I said, leading the championship going into this race. Second place being held onto by Pieter Brand at the moment, and then your Heat 2 winner of Andres de Vries is in third place so far. And a spin there as well. Not the first time he's been off the circuit. It is Philip Jacobs who goes around and into the wall ever so slightly. The rest of the field managing to take evasive action, and the race does not get suspended. It manages to carry on, which is quite significant, but a disaster of a day for Philip Jacobs. And now leading the way is Pieter Brand, and coming under pressure for second place is Tolly Gursen from the Heat 2 winner of Andres de Vries. De Vries up the inside, but Gursen managing to find traction on that outside line and hold on to that position. Into the final corner we go. Very interesting to see the different driving styles. All the drivers, of course, straggling for grip, trying to find some purchase on that rubber. It's proven to be a very interesting series of events here at the Ultimate Raceway, and very sideways as well for Andres de Vries. He manages to hold it together with a fantastic piece of car control, but certainly not where he would want it to be. He wants to be in Pieter Brand's position. There he is, speaking of the devil, the number 47, Pieter Brand, who's looking very calm and very confident out there so far. Keep an eye out on Albert Bridges as well. Albert, who's had, once again, a bit of a disaster of a day so far. It's just not gone his way. Luck has not been on his inside as Pieter Brand gets himself up the inside. Speaking about the inside, contact between de Vries and Tolly Gursen. Gursen, for the third time today, goes spinning around and out of contention in this race. A real disaster. What an end for Tolly Gursen. Certainly not the weekend that he would have been hoping for, but across the line we go with the winner of Pieter Brand. Tolly Gursen, though, ends up on top in the championship. Rian Beats in second place, James Buerter in third place, fourth place Andres de Vries, and fifth is Albert Bridges. Albert Bridges leads the way down towards the first corner here for the first heat in the 1660s category. Second place being held onto by Mornay du Plessis. And keep an eye out for that silver car there with the fluorescent pink number. That's Johan Ludig. He is sitting in second place so far in the championship, and has proven to be very quick over the course of this season. He's starting further down the order than perhaps he would have liked due to the lottery grid, but it'll be interesting to see him making his way through the field. He's got Picky Kutzia in front of him at the moment, and Kutzia is looking pretty good out there with the number 25, the white machine just in front. But it'll be interesting to see how he fares. Someone who's not going to do very well, though, is Tuller Yui. Yui goes around and spins on the infield of the section out of this race for the number 99. They will go no further. A real shame, as Ludig really piling the pressure on now to Kutzia. Kutzia holding the inside line, but Ludig drives straight around the outside in the 2.56. He's up into the podium position, into P2 for Ludig. Very impressive, and now trying to take the lead away from Ernest Smith. Smith holds the outside line, but Ludig straight up the inside, muscles his way past into the final corner, and across the timing line they go. Now it's Johan Ludig with the advantage. He leads the way here at the Ultimate Raceway. Brilliant race it has been so far for Ludig. As I say, he's been so quick in the championship so far. Mornay du Plessis out in front in the championship, but Ludig really trying to pile the pressure on as much as he can. Of course, he did miss a round earlier in the season, back in August, did Ludig. Scored no points there, but he is going to score maximum points in this first heat. Johan Ludig takes the checkered flag in the first heat of the day. Will he be able to repeat the same feat in Heat 2? Well, Mornay du Plessis is looking at the inside and trying to find a way through, as is Albert Bridges in P3 as well. The top three already having broken away from the rest of the field, but it's Ludig then from du Plessis, from Bridges, kicking up a bit of smoke and a bit of tyre dust into the right hand. And we go, du Plessis looking at the inside of Ludig. Ludig gives him racing room. Will he be able to find an opportunity? They're going to be nearly side by side as they come over the timing line. The floodlights now bathing the circuit in light. Very interesting to see how it is. Side by side racing though between du Plessis and Ludig. Ludig up the inside, or the outside rather I should say. Du Plessis up the inside, and Albert Bridges looking to try and change the positioning as well. He's looking to try and get him up the inside into the right hand, and Ludig with the outside line. He's got it all to lose, and he's got no track position and no traction, more importantly as well, to be able to use it. One of the cars pulling off to the infield of the circuit there. Couldn't quite see who that was, but du Plessis takes the front. He hits the advantage. They're going to be nearly three wide as they come over into the final corner. Brilliant racing, top three battling for position top 3 in the championship as well it is. It's still Duplessis who leads the way at the top at the moment, but Bridges up the inside into P2. This could be very interesting. He's got the line and he's got the place. So Bridges moves himself up into second position on the podium. Ludic relegated down into third place and Duplessis out in front. A brilliant battle it has been as they come on to the final lap, and Bridges looking to try and take the lead as well from Duplessis. He's trying to find an opportunity in towards turn 1. The back end is sliding all over the place, but he's got nowhere to use it. No traction, no advantage, and it is going to be Mornay Duplessis who takes the advantage and the checkered flag. Well, what will Heat 3 hold? It's going to be Bridges versus Duplessis down towards the first corner. Duplessis on the outside, Bridges with the advantage and track position, and now the lead on the inside as they come into the final corner already. Still going to be Johan Ludic who holds on to third position so far, and once again the top 3 managing to romp away from the rest of the field. The championship going into this was very, very tight indeed, but I dare say if Mornay Duplessis, given the consistent results he's had so far here this weekend at the Ultimate Raceway, could see him on top by the end of this event. Bridges out in front, he's managed to get the advantage and get the whole shot. Meanwhile, further down the order, a great battle going on between Ernest Smith and Picky Kutzia. Kutzia in the position behind in the white machine, and Smith holding on and defending the line very nicely, but Kutzia looking to try and find a way through up the inside into the right-hander. Gets his nose chopped off though. Onto the final lap. Here for the heat we go, and it's still going to be Bridges who leads the way, sliding the way out of the final corner to start his final lap in that Mercedes Silhouette machine. Looking very comfortable out there, and holding on to second place at the moment still is Duplessis, but the checkered flag does indeed fall. And the championship does indeed go the way of Mornay Duplessis. Johan Ludic finishes second best, and Albert Bridges comes home in third position, with Ernest Smith in fourth and Lewis Furry in fifth place. We trust that you have enjoyed this episode and look forward to bringing you all of the action from the next round here at the Ultimate Raceway.